WOWT Channel 6. This is Heartland Focus.
Good afternoon, I'm Rachel Pierce, and welcome to this edition of Heartland Focus. Their focus is to move people to self-sufficiency so they can become contributing members of Nebraska's workforce, and they represent thousands of Metro residents. We're talking about Legal Aid of Nebraska, and joining us to explain exactly what Legal Aid of Nebraska does and how it affects all of us are David Pantos and Myrnie Haney of Legal Aid of Nebraska. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Myrnie was on about a year ago talking about legal aid, but it's an important topic to bring up. So here we are again. And let's first, for people out there that maybe don't know anything about legal aid, let's talk about the basics. What is legal aid?
Great. Legal Aid of Nebraska is the law firm for 1/6 of the Nebraska population. That's the amount of people that are eligible for our services. We provide free civil legal representation and advice to low-income Nebraskans and elderly Nebraskans.
So 1/6 of our population is either elderly or low income?
That's right.
Just a lot of people. That's what, about 200-some thousand?
Exactly. And we are out there trying to provide those services, but we did a recent legal needs assessment. We found that despite our efforts, there are about 86% of Nebraskans that we're not getting to that are eligible for our services. So we got a lot of work we got to do to catch up on that.
But you're still serving thousands and thousands of people. I mean, for what staff you do have, you're handling a lot of cases.
Yes, I think we're doing a great job. Managing attorneys like Myrnie, who are out there day-to-day representing folks in courtrooms, providing advice, running self-help clinics so that people can help themselves. They're really doing a great job. We've also done a lot of technological innovations that allow us to serve more people. We have a statewide hotline number, so anyone can call throughout the state and get advice or referrals for representation.
So give us an example of some of the cases that you handle. Now, a note, these aren't criminal cases.
Right.
That's correct.
We handle a wide variety of cases. We help people who have landlord-tenant difficulties, people who are facing bankruptcy, people who need to get on Social Security, people who are in the midst of needing a divorce or custody of their children, people who are caught in situations of domestic violence. And we're one piece of getting them out of that difficulty and on with the rest of their lives.
Right, and people come to you, they probably have no knowledge of how the legal system works, and they're in these sort of, these very difficult situations, and so they can come to you, and then you lay it out for them and actually provide legal service.
Right. It's a matter of letting them know that the legal system can work for them and in a positive way, and just giving them the tools they need to understand how to run through that maze and come out okay.
Now, how does this, some Nebraskans out there or people that are watching say, well, I'm not low income, I'm not elderly, how does this affect me? It affects everybody in the state, doesn't it?
Absolutely, because even if you're not low income, the fact that someone is low income and unable to satisfy some kind of legal problem to get over that hump may mean that that person is now dependent on government benefits, which is taxpayer resources. A lot of the times we get people off of those benefits and onto, back into a job, back into their home, so they can be self-sufficient. So it really isn't just that 1/6, it's everybody.
Definitely, and isn't it for every dollar that is spent on legal aid, it's something like $6 goes back into the Nebraska economy?
That's exactly right. We've done a couple studies which have shown that there is definitely a huge benefit to that. And here's just an example. If you've got, and we're going to talk a little bit about homestead exemption later, if you have an elderly person who's been in their home for decades, and they, because of a medical problem, have a problem with a credit card or some other kind of outstanding bill that wasn't their fault, and now there's these creditors coming after them, they want to take their home. If they lose their home, well, what's going to happen? Well, it's someone who's elderly. They're probably going to be eligible for some kind of governmental service that'll pay for their housing. Well, that's a burden on society. Obviously, society gratefully accepts that burden because we want to help our elderly, but wouldn't it be better to keep them in their homes? Well, we do work that helps keep people in their homes, and I think that's a really important thing.
Definitely. Well, let's talk about some of the services that you offer in some of the programs. You mentioned the homestead exemption, so let's go over that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, there's a couple things here, and one is we were part of an effort to change the homestead exemption in Nebraska. For many, many years, it was only $12,500. That was the small amount of home equity that was protected from creditors. And again, these are unsecured creditors. This is not mortgage situation. This is unsecured creditors like a medical debt or a credit card, which got out of control because the interest rate went up to 35% or whatever. And we all know stories about that. We got, by working with the legislature, and I know Senator Ashford's going to be on later, and this came up in his committee, so we really thank him for that work. We got that to go from $12,500, which was the lowest in the nation, or among the lowest in the nation, to $60,000, which was more mainstream for the nation and kind of better reflected home values throughout the state of Nebraska. We estimate that we helped to preserve $1 billion in home equity for elderly and low-income Nebraskans, and that's a big difference. And just by like kind of a magic bullet, which solved a lot of problems at once. And those are the kinds of innovative solutions we're trying to work on.
That's amazing. So what kind of stories, what kind of feedback are you getting from that?
Well, I mean, already the bill actually passed in the last session. It just went into effect September 1st or the end of August, and already we're making a difference. People call our access line, it's a toll-free number, and it used to be we'd have to say to them, look, you know, you don't have any chance here because you have more than $12,500 in equity. Now when people call, we say, hey, hang in there. You can protect your home. And we've gotten scores of those calls already. Right. And those come through all the time. It's great to be able to tell someone yes rather than no.
Right, good, good. Now you also have a new program, another new program. It's called Fathers for a Lifetime. Tell us about that.
Well, excuse me, we're working with a collaboration of people, Fathers for a Lifetime, the Conciliation Court in Douglas County, and the state of Nebraska. In the last legislative session, a bill was passed that allowed fathers who go to jail to get their child support lowered for the time that they're in jail. And that sounds like we're just helping deadbeat dads, which really isn't the case. What happens when people go to jail is they've got this child support bill that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the social effect of that is that when these dads get out of jail, they're ashamed that they're not able to meet their child support bill. And because of that shame, they're less likely to connect with their kids on an ongoing basis, and these kids need their dad. So what the child support bill does is allow them to pay their debt to society without getting in permanent debt, and socially to come out and become responsible and take care of their kids. And this is how this is going to work. Fathers for a Lifetime provides case management services for dads. They help them find a job, they do counseling, they help them understand the legal system. They're going to work with the Conciliation Court to put together a plan where these dads see their kids on a regular basis. So it's helping to reconnect and get over that shame barrier so that families come back together again. Our piece is to go into court with the state and to get that child support barrier reduced. What we want to do is remove the barriers that keep parents from their kids. And if one of those is money, then we're going to see if we can take care of it. Now, that's what's the wonderful thing about the bill that passed last session. So our hope is that we're going to have more fathers who pick up their responsibility instead of always being burdened by an inability to do that.
Right.
Right, you know, I never knew that that was a problem. I bet a lot of other people out there didn't know that that was an issue. So how do you figure out where your services are needed? I mean, because that seems like something that I'm sure you don't just stumble across. I mean, do people come to you and say, this is an issue that I'm dealing with, or how do you figure out where you're needed?